You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. So I have a question for you today. Who is on your trusted advisory council? Now you may be thinking, what is Amber talking about? Part of my own stop leverage formula that I teach to my clients and inside Leverage Lab is how to leverage people. And in the pillar of people is your trusted advisory council. Who do you go to for support when things are going good and when things are incredibly challenging? Who do you have on your team as your advisors professionally? So your attorney, your CPA, your bookkeeper, your coach, your mentor. Who encompasses your trusted advisory council? Now, my trusted advisory council has been hand-selected over many, many years of being in business. And when I say hand-selected, I mean I may have bumped into him at a conference and struck up a conversation, had a real connection, and asked myself, how can they fit into my world, my business, or as a friend? And my trusted advisory council has actually been guests here on the show many, many times. But today, what we're doing is something a little bit different. My friend Jamie Lieberman and attorney Jamie Lieberman had said, I think we need to get together and talk about the power of supporting each other and collaboration. And I said, what a great topic. I want to run that interview on my podcast as well. Well, she also asked our friend, Amanda Berlin. And Amanda Berlin is also a really good friend of mine, and she is a podcaster, and she helps small business owners with creating their own PR. Now, why did we have this conversation and not some of my other trusted advisory councils? Well, it's because we have one thing in common. By sheer accident, we, the three of us, were invited by Luann Nigera almost 2 years ago, probably 18 months to 2 years ago, to be a co-author in an upcoming book that will be releasing very, very soon. In fact, pre-sales are going to be starting in the middle of November. And that book is for interior designers, and it's called A Well-Designed Business, The Power Talk Friday Experts, Volume 2. So, not only are we friends who meet in a mastermind every other week and have met in person to do a multi-day mastermind, but we also had this unique ability to be co-authors in the same book. And you'll hear more about that story coming soon in the conversation. But before we dive into my conversation with Jamie and Amanda, I wanted to share with you why it is so important to curate, to cultivate, to create the bonds, both personally and professionally, with your trusted advisory council. Jamie and Amanda are one of 7 of us that met about a year and a half ago in New Jersey. And what I had done was I was actually spearheading that event where I said, I've randomly met all of these amazing women that are business owners, many that are podcasters who don't really know each other or don't know each other at all. And they seem to all live on the East Coast and specifically mostly in New Jersey. So I said, I'm coming to you and I'm going to rent an Airbnb and I'm going to host a multi-day mastermind because my heart wants all of you amazing people in the same room and I want you to be able to meet each other. So since that event, we have been able to keep in touch, and we do it on purpose by purposely investing in each other, by building the bonds. Now, those relationships look different, but I do still have relationships with every single one of the women that attended that mastermind 18 months ago. 4 of us have met consistently every 2 weeks for about the last 6 to 8 months. And so we created a peer mastermind, meaning I seeked them out. I wanted to have them in my world on a consistent basis, both personally and professionally. And what does that mean? To really optimize and maximize the relationship of your trusted advisory council, I believe it takes a continuous investment in others. You see, I am continually reaching out to them and asking how I can support them and cheerleading them from afar in their business, and certainly there for them when they have bad days or challenging days or something that they need to run by someone else that just gets them on a personal level, but gets them in business. Because I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have friends that are business owners and you have friends that are not. And man, is there an incredible place for our friends that are not business owners. But there's just something that they can't quite support us with or understand because they're not business owners. So my personal thoughts about this are, if I'm continually investing in them and building that bond and supporting them, and by the way, that just feels incredibly good to me, when I need them, they will be there for me. And that has proven to be true time and time again. So the 4 of us that meet every other Friday is actually people that not only am I doing life with, but I'm doing business with. So for example, Jamie is my attorney. I hire her. She hires me. I send her business because she's just freaking amazing. And then we also have Jessica Rodriguez. Now, she's not in the book, so she's not in this interview that we're doing, but I actually hired Jessica as my own coach. So not only are we peers and friends, but man, do I see the value in what she has to offer and what she can teach me and how she can help my business. So I hired her. And Amanda is absolutely amazing at helping you craft your story and pitch yourself to media and make it not so scary for you to figure out what your messaging is so that you can tell the world how you can help them and how you can serve them. And I've also referred clients to Amanda. And they've all been on my podcast because I want you to have access to them, and I want you to be able to experience a little bit of what I have because I've created these relationships. Now, that's a lot of eyes, and that's a lot about me. That's not what this is about. I want to use this as an example of what you can create for yourself. It's going to take putting yourself out there just a little bit. It's going to take walking up to someone at a conference post-pandemic when we're back to normal conferences. It's going to take reaching out to somebody that you are connected to online, feel like, wow, I think we could really have a deeper relationship than just connection on Instagram or Facebook, and ask for a virtual coffee chat. It's going to take you to step out and invite people into your world. And it will feel scary. And you may get turned down or rejected. But when it works out, I'm going to tell you it's absolutely worth it. Because one thing that I know for sure after being in business for 8 years is that being a business owner can feel incredibly lonely. Like really lonely, especially if you're working from home and your team's not around you. So if your team is virtual. But even if you have your team, they also don't quite get what you are going through, what you are thinking, what pressures you have as a business owner. So I'm going to tell you, you need to create and cultivate your own special advisory council. And why is this even tied to time management or productivity? Because it's absolutely path of least resistance. If I did not have these people in my life, I would try to solve problems by myself. And when I try to solve problems and challenges or work through a mindset challenge by myself, I'm going to tell you the path is a lot longer than being shortcutted by people that are in my life that will tell it to me straight, that will hold space for me and then tell me to get my shit together. And that is who I have curated in my life, because that's what I need to be successful, to move forward, to really accomplish my goals that I have for myself and my business. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, because we're going to talk about some of the surprising benefits of being collaborators and co-creating together. And I hope it inspires you to take some scary action and reach out of your inner circle or your bubble or working in your home office and reach out to somebody and make a connection. And it's one connection after another, that in a few years, you're going to look back and think, I feel so rich with friendships, rich with connection, rich with resources. And that's what I want for each and every one of you.
This is Amanda Berlin, and thank you so much for listening to Empowered Publicity. I am thrilled today to bring you a conversation with my dear friends, Jamie Lieberman and Amber De La Garza, my co-authors with, I guess it would be 6 other women in A Well-Designed Business, the Power Talk Friday Experts, Volume 2, a collaboration with our friend Luann Nigara. We are going to talk today about collaborations and alliances and the power that community and even sisterhood, dare I say, can bring to your business. Thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having us. I cannot wait to chat and talk about collaboration with you ladies.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Amanda. Yay. So this was fun. I love how this came together, which is sort of how I feel like we kind of came together. It's like one of those things where we all knew each other. And then Amber had this incredible idea to create a mastermind. And this is completely unrelated to the book. We're going to get to that. But I think knowing the story of how we kind of came together and how we utilize community and collaboration, like knowing the backstory makes a huge difference. And I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Amber had this amazing idea. It was about a year ago, right?
Yeah, last summer.
You got it. I mean, you have to tell it because it was your idea. So I want you to explain it, please.
So I met you ladies like in November of 2017 at a conference and hit it off with you amazingly. And I had a few other friends that I had met at other conferences that lived on the East Coast. And I thought, what would be amazing to connect everyone in a house for a full day mastermind? So I decided on Hoboken since, well, you both live there. And I ended up renting this Airbnb that actually shared a wall with Jamie's apartment, which was totally by accident, right? And the idea of this was that I had these individual relationships with all these amazing ladies. And I thought, what would be more powerful than getting everyone in the same room and collaborating and masterminding and building relationships? And not to toot my own horn, but it was more than I ever expected. Like, it was nothing that I could have imagined that actually happened. And it was quite magical. To tie this together with the book, we were all talking about mindset, but we were also talking about our businesses and strategy. And at that time, I had been asked about being in this book. And I remember bringing it up. And then I think Jamie was like, I was asked too. And Amanda was like, I was asked too. And I'm like, no way. Like, at that time, I didn't even know that we all mutually had Luann as a friend. And I thought, did she ask everybody in the world to be in this book? Like, what are the chances? And then I realized that Luann saw in us what we saw in each other, because what are the chances that 3 of us were asked to be in a book and we had already kind of seeked each other out for friendship and support? So that's kind of how this happened. There was a whole backstory. And then fast forward, we're in 2020. This started in 2017, this relationship, and we're in a book together.
It was amazing. And what I love most about it, and we jumped right in because we all know each other so well. And what the amazing thing about our relationship and us working together is all of our businesses, one, we're all kind of in the same place in our business and we have very complementary businesses. And anybody who listens to my podcast knows that I run a law firm, but any of our listeners that are coming to us, even though you both have appeared on the podcast, maybe you guys can just remind everybody what your businesses are to give a little bit of context and why it would make sense, one, that we would mastermind together, and two, why we would all appear as co-authors of Luann's book.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. This is Amanda. I teach entrepreneurs how to become more visible. So I help people who are feeling like they're lost in the shuffle, that they're silenced, muted, frustrated, that not enough people know about them. I help them connect with more of the right people through a variety of technically PR tactics, public relations. I teach collaborations and alliances. I teach how to pitch yourself for speaking, how to host events, how to nurture your relationships with your public. And also I teach media relations, which is something that I think that people find mysterious, and also maybe a little bit the idea of being in the media a little bit sexy and exciting. But that's, just one piece of a larger visibility strategy to help you connect with more of the right clients and create relationships essentially that help you grow your business.
So I am a small business productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer. And I help small business owners improve their time management and elevate their personal productivity.
And I connected with both Amber and Amanda because they're awesome women and amazing to be able to mastermind with, but also because these were skills I didn't really have in my business and needed. As anybody who knows me knows that I am not very organized. And visibility is something, and communications, like Amanda teaches, was something that didn't necessarily come easily to me in written form. In verbal form, I can talk all day, but written is more of a challenge for me. So I've not only worked with them as masterminding partners, but I've been your client, which is very cool. So I've had the benefit of that knowledge. But the neat thing that happened after we had those days in person, which were they were magic the way we all worked together, is we've continued on. And we do this every 2 weeks. We meet and we have about an hour-long chat with some other women. I wanted to explore what that means for you guys in your business, and why do you keep up with it? This is not paid for. This is just pure peer. We are just women who, own our own businesses, who face similar challenges, who happen to have similar values and connect. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you get from it, and why do you keep up with it? Why do you carve that hour of precious time out of your week?
And it is such precious time. I mean, imagine getting 6 women at our level together on a Friday, right? For me, I do it because I value a deeper relationship. So I'm not the person that goes to a conference and just wants to meet a whole bunch of people. I really want to meet the people that I connect with. And then it matters to me to go deeper in those relationships. One, because it's a little selfish, like I get something out of it, but I also get out of being able to serve you guys in a friendship way. I don't know how else to say that. And I think it's worth saying that our meetings are not just business. Like almost never actually we're talking about business. We could be talking about big life decisions, things that are happening for us personally. We could be telling jokes or stories or sharing about our vacations. But there's also something that magically happens through Voxer. And it's like you have your people on speed dial. So like I just posted for a job. Who did I send it to? I sent it to you ladies. Like, hey, who do you know? Who's in your network? And it's because we've invested in each other over years that we have that resource. And the other thing is that I really enjoy surrounding myself with people that are not like me. So not only are our businesses not like each other, but our personalities are not very similar. But we find a lot to connect on. And I think that just makes me a better person to surround myself with other people that have different character traits and personalities.
Yeah, I mean, I can second all of those emotions. And when I hear you talking, I really get filled with emotion because I do feel so grateful to have you guys. And I've done a lot of reflecting on, the network and the community that I've built around myself, because it really does fly in the face of every story that I've ever told myself about myself in terms of how in terms of my formative years, feeling like an outsider in my friend groups and feeling ostracized by friends who I thought were my lifeblood. And now it's a completely different story. And I'm forced to kind of confront like, oh, wait, maybe that wasn't true, those stories I told about myself. But the reason why I love our group so much is because, like you said, we all bring something different. We are kind of unconditionally supportive of each other, but we also point out each other's, we would never phrase it this way, but we point out like what we might be missing, what our blind spots might be. And we all bring something different to the conversation. So I feel endlessly lucky to be able to connect with you guys. It's personally rewarding, as I've described, but also on the professional side, collaborations and alliances, as organically as they sometimes come together, have been the most powerful way that I've grown my business over the last several years. And I'm talking exponential growth simply by relying on my community to support me in getting the word out about what I'm working on.
I totally agree with that. My entire business is really referral based and based on, people who've either met me and referred me or seen me or, just sort of knowledge. Because when you go about hiring a lawyer in particular, you sort of want some kind of connection. People do Google their lawyer, but not all that often. And it's always very funny when we get those calls. But for the most part, it's been a connection in that way. The difference I find between that, and I love community. I mean, anybody who knows me knows I will literally talk to anybody and I love meeting people. And I am just one of those people who just wants to be in person, who just wants to like learn all the things about all the people. So I very much love that. And I miss that because we're not traveling right now. And so that's something I've missed very much. So our meetings have given me some feel of that when I'm not traveling, having that connection. But the thing that I have found that is the most effective and helpful is how you guys challenge me. And I don't, at times, I've been told I have a slightly strong personality, so not everyone will always challenge me, and you all do it differently. Just you, Amber and Amanda sitting here, the way you guys both communicate differently, you talk differently, we all sort of come to the same conclusion, but kind of do it in different ways. And so in particular, when we were evaluating this amazing offer that came to us from Luann to say, hey, do you want to be a part of this book? I felt like you guys were such an incredible resource to just get your take on it and just say, oh yeah, like I think this is great. And what about this? And even talking about what our chapters were going to be about and bouncing those ideas off of each other were just so incredibly helpful that it sort of transcended from just that emotional support that you're talking about to truly having somebody who is on the same footing as you, has been in business the same amount of time as you, who can sort of challenge you and say, hey, I think you need to do X, and it makes me really think. And I just trust you guys so much. So it is helped in both ways. And it is something that I feel the same way. Like we're just like gushing. There's just like love everywhere, but it is really.
I think it's like personality, but it's also experience and how we see the world individually. So when we bring something to the table, whether it's at Air Mastermind Zoom call or on Voxer, it's like we're putting something in the middle and we all ask different questions, meaning we're all seeing it from a different perspective. And I value asking things from a different way and a different perspective because it makes me think different. And if you can get me to think different than my narrow, this is how I see the world, that is so valuable with anything we do, personal or professional.
Yeah, I agree. And being a solo entrepreneur it's lonely.
Very.
Yes.
It really is. Even having staff, it's different. I have women that report to me and they're amazing. And my director of operations is my right-hand woman. But at the end of the day, payroll and client relations and all, it just rests on our shoulders as the owner. And so talking to other, particularly female business owners is so, it takes some of the loneliness out of that journey.
Yeah. And I remember that when we started the bi-monthly Friday conversations, it was Amber, because you were like, guys, there's a pandemic. We need each other more than ever now. We have to do this. And we were like, oh my God, yeah. It was like it's like we were down in a well and you like threw down the rope.
Thank you for that. And, just to speak to what you were saying about like the beliefs and stories we had as a kid, I was shaking my head. We hadn't talked about that before, but I felt that very much so in high school too. Like I never found my group. I always felt like I was an outsider. And I am mature and I'm a confident woman, and I still was hesitant to throw the rope because I'm like, what if they don't have time for me on Fridays? What if they feel obligated to meet with me because I said I needed them? Like that chatter comes up, and I think it's useful for anyone that's listening to say like, do it anyways, do it anyways. And worst case is like, now I'm more mature and much older and I can handle a no. But what if I had not, because I heard that chatter? It's not as easy as like, thinking, someone's outgoing or they just have that about them. They can create this. You can create this for yourself if you get past that chatter and just ask for the people that you connect with.
Absolutely. And I think that we often will answer for people before we give them the chance to answer for themselves. And I think the other important thing to remember inside that self-talk is like, they actually might be waiting for you to reach out. And I should have, when I said that you reached out to us, I should have said that you said, ladies, ladies, we need each other right now.
Yeah, totally.
I also want to stress too that we knew each other a while. And so I definitely see in the marketplace and look, we're in an entrepreneurial space. We all know each other, right? And so many of us who are business owners have gone into these types of mastermind situations, the kind that it's a peer mastermind that you've all agreed to do together, and you see them fizzle out. There's drama, there's this, there's that. Spend time thinking really long and hard about the people that are going to be a part of it, I think is really key. And make sure you all have similar values, you all have similar respect levels is very important. The way you communicate may be different, but just making sure that there is always like an underlying kindness to it. And we know that because we'd known each other for a long time. We had met in person. And when you meet somebody online, it's very different than when you actually meet them in person and you communicate. I'm sure we've all had those instances where you've met somebody like in an online space and you meet them in person, you're like, whoa.
Very different.
Yeah, that was not what I expected. And so we formed that relationship. And so even if you don't have the ability, particularly now when we do need so much collaboration and support, because many of us feel like islands and being unable to travel, and spend some time on Zoom or spend some time really connecting just outside of, say, email or instant messenger, because it's just a completely different dynamic. And do some test runs and be okay if it doesn't work and be okay if you need to move on. But I'd also say always be honest. Like we're very, very honest. If someone can't make it to a particular Friday, we're really communicative. Like I just got the last time I just got so caught with work. I was like, guys, I can't do it. I shot a quick message and everybody's super understanding about that too.
Yeah, I think that having explicit expectations is really important. I belong to other mastermind groups where it's very structured, and that's what I wanted. I wanted structure and accountability, and it was a specific issue you bring in. And we never created ours that way. So there's lots of different formats to meet you where you're at, and you get to decide what works for you. I think that one thing we didn't actually do, but has worked for me in the past, is having a time frame of beginning to end. That way, someone that's not getting what they need out of it 6 months from now or a year from now can gracefully opt out, and there's no hard feelings. It's like at the end, or you can choose to renew. And that also takes some of the awkwardness away. I have myself outgrown other mastermind groups. I've been in business 8 years. It happens. But I will tell you, I've stayed lifetime friends with them. It just didn't fit that it was valuable to meet that frequently in a mastermind, but I still stay connected to them because of all the relationship that was built through a mastermind.
Well, I think that goes back to the honesty and transparency. I mean, just because there are plenty of people I could absolutely not mastermind with, and we wouldn't be fits for each other, for all of us. And so one, knowing that about yourself, which certainly comes with experience and having situations where it didn't work, but also just sort of leading with that honesty and transparency. There's no need for there to be drama ever, I think. And so I think it's important to just be really honest, in a kind way, but being very honest will make these types of like peer groups work really well. All right. So we've had our love fest. We all love each other. You all know it. No, but it's important. And I think anybody listening who's interested in a potential mastermind, I know I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about how we've structured it or done it. But I also really want to talk about the book because I am so excited for this to come out. There is such incredible information. There are, remind me how many, there's 7 of us?
There's 9 of us.
9 of us. So
yeah.
Edit that, Dawn. No, just kidding. There's 9 of us. 9 chapters, 9 experts. And it's going to be amazing. There's so much good stuff coming up.
Yeah. And this is Amanda again. The reason why I love opportunities like this is because not only is it a collaboration with the person who is bringing you all together, in this case, it's Luann, but it gives all of we co-authors, all of us co-authors, I don't know the right grammar for that, all of us co-authors, the opportunity to collaborate with each other. And I think this is a great takeaway for anyone listening, because it really does apply to any group kind of panel or a virtual summit or anything that you might be a part of where you can really leverage your participation to connect with the other presenters. And I think that that's something that we don't always look at as opportunities, especially with like a virtual summit, which is this big amorphous kind of, tactic that really benefits mostly the person who's organizing it by collecting email addresses, when really you can take the opportunity to be like, hey, big other influencer who is in this summit with me, I really loved what you had to say. I also presented. Do you want to get on a call and talk about, what you have coming up, and we could see if there's any opportunities for us to collaborate? And it just exponentially grows your connections and your future collaborations.
Absolutely. We're all podcasters, right? So we can also be interviewing other people. So we're doing this panel, but I'm also scheduling all of Q4 to say who in the book could add value to my audience and vice versa, which is amazing because now you have cross promotion across all different audiences and not just Luann's audience are we pouring into.
Yeah. And the cool thing about what Luann did, which always impresses me, is she's so thought out in all the authors. So we all kind of complement each other and our audiences would all be interested. Like my audiences would clearly be very interested in what both of your expertise is. I mean, it's why I've had you on the podcast in the past before we were even collaborating in this way. And so that's been cool. I'm doing lives, Instagram and Facebook lives with a number of the other co-authors. I wanted us to do this podcast roundtable just because I thought we had a cool, like multi-level collaboration story.
Right.
But I do love that. Yes, exactly. And so that's been super helpful too. But there's loads of other topics that I think you guys would be interested as well. And I'm going to be interviewing a number of people. And Amber, who are you going to be talking to in Q4?
Yeah, so I'm looking at bringing on Eileen Hahn, and she has Lead with Love. She talks about leading your employees and hiring correctly.
Basically, the theme of the book is that all of these experts in different areas of business have tailored their advice for interior designers, which is Luann's audience. And so whether it's how to hire properly, how to do social media, how to, grassroots build your business, how to structure your business as an interior designer, insight from me on visibility, insight from Amber on productivity, insight from Jamie on legal, there's all these different topics that have been tailored for a specific audience.
That was really good. Great. That was awesome.
That was phenomenal.
You were good. Good job, Amanda.
So we can wrap up on that one. Yeah, so I'm very excited for what Q4 is going to bring, and we're going to have some really cool other guests, both on the podcast and also on each of our social media channels and on Amber's podcast and Amanda's podcast. This is so much fun. See this cross promotion and collaboration? It's like incredible.
Best ever.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for coming on and chatting all about this. I hope that the audience got just a feel for how close we are and how much collaboration I think means to the three of us, and just how incredibly beneficial it is in your business, particularly when you're an entrepreneur. It can save you in so many different ways, and it just fills you up and it makes me feel good. So thank you both for taking the time and coming on. I am excited to be talking more about the book together. And ultimately, we're going to be appearing at an event, I think, in the new year. So stay tuned because we'll have more information about that too.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and some behind the scenes of what collaborating and curating your own special advisory council could look like for you. If you enjoyed today and you want more of Jamie Lieberman, she has a podcast called Fearless, the business behind running a business. And you can get more of Amanda. Amanda Berlin has a podcast called the Empowered Publicity Podcast. Wherever you're listening to this episode, make sure you go check them out. And they were also guests on Productivity Straight Talk. And so if you want to go find their episodes, we'll link out to it. But Jamie was episode 116 and Amanda was episode 147, where each of them are sharing their area of expertise with you, the listeners of Productivity Straight Talk. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So go take scary action. Like, I get it. Maybe you identify as an introvert and you think only those extroverted people can do this. Don't tell yourself this story. Please, if you crave connection and you crave building relationships, I guarantee there's others out there that need it and want it as much as you do. So put yourself out there. Invite someone to a virtual coffee. Make a deeper connection than just liking a Facebook post or an Instagram post. Make plans to go to live events when the world looks a bit different. And I hope that's very soon because I crave the in-person interaction and connection as well. So go take some action. Go take some action that will change the story that you currently have for yourself. If your story sounds anything like being a business owner can feel or does feel incredibly lonely. That's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.